Welcome to the Wolverine Digest podcast, the best spot for objective, authentic coverage of Michigan athletics. If you want open dialogue, honest opinions, and in-depth coverage of the maize and blue, this is the podcast for you. And now, here's your host, Brandon Brown, joined as always by Chris Breiler.
Does anyone ever say to you, sounds like someone has a case of the Mondays?
I don't know, Chris. Sorry, buddy.
I'll start by saying go blue.
I wondered, are you going to leave our boy out?
I'm not. I didn't mean to leave our boy out. I don't think we can say that we've got a case of the Mondays this week.
If this is what a case of the Mondays feels like, it feels pretty damn good.
Give me a big old case of the Mondays then, if that's the case. It's a lot of the word case right there. Anyway, Michigan coming off a huge win. You and I had a blasty blast this weekend with some of the homies, man, from growing up, childhood, college.
Tried to turn back the clock. We tried.
We did. We did try. I don't know. Well, we're going to get into that. We'll touch on that a little bit. Actually, first though, before we get into what we did this weekend in the Michigan football game that we're going to spend most of the show on, let's talk a little bit of basketball, man. A little bit of basketball. We'll get that out of the way. Obviously, it wasn't a big game in terms of opponent. Michigan played Prairie View A&M, but it had some significance in it was the coaches against racism, and they were in Washington, D.C. I know a bunch of the players. I think both teams maybe spent some time together and did some touring and went to some museums and did some things like that. So a cool event, a cool venue. They got a chance to play a game, and Michigan did win handily. They won 77-49. Eli Brooks led the way with 15 points. Caleb Houston, the super freshman, had 13. Hunter Dickinson had 11. Devontae Jones had 10. And Brandon Johns Jr. came up a little short with just 2 points, but the starters obviously kind of got their money's worth. Terrence Williams and Kobe Buffkin off the bench with 8 apiece. So they handled Prairie View A&M. We actually didn't hardly – I saw like a minute of it. We were walking through a hotel in State College. One of our buddies had an emergency bathroom break. We stepped in there, saw some Michigan fans watching it on like an iPad or a phone or something. I checked the score, and that was really about it. But yeah, obviously Michigan basketball now 2-0. They play tomorrow night against Seton Hall at 9:00, late tip-off. Looking for a 3-0 start. So I don't know. Like I said, I didn't go back and watch it. Full disclosure, I don't really know exactly what happened in that Prairie View A&M game, but a big win, almost 30-point win. They're 2-0, looking for 3-0 tomorrow. We'll get into Juwan in just a second, but just thoughts on the surface of seeing that easy win for Michigan.
Yeah, it's what you would expect. I mean, obviously they were playing against a lesser opponent, and you're right. We were busy roaming around the streets of Happy Valley and didn't get a chance to see it. But when you look at the numbers, it's probably what you would expect from Michigan. They took care of business, and then obviously the big one was Seton Hall, and we'll see what that looks like. But yeah, haven't had the chance to. I'm still trying to get my bearings back. Like it takes me now days to recover from alcohol consumption. So I'm working on like day 3 of recovery.
Yeah, so we'll get into that. I wanted to touch just briefly on Juwan Howard today. He had a Zoom press conference this morning at 11:00, and he was a little testy. We haven't. I don't know why. I don't know what spurred it on. I don't think anybody asked anything out of bounds.
Do you think it was the lack of attention given to the game? I mean, with Penn State going, it seemed like everybody was trying to play catch up to what they did because they were so busy watching football, I
mean, maybe that's what it was. Tom Wyrot, who's the man, he's the SID for basketball. We deal with him a lot. Super cool dude. He led off the press conference by saying, Coach, if you want to talk a little bit about the game, let everybody know what happened. And Juwan immediately kind of went into defense mode and was like, they're inquisitive people. Investigative. They're investigative people. They could figure it out, but it was a good time and blah, blah, blah. And then he answered a couple questions pretty well. And then down the stretch, it was like Bill Belichick or something. Like he wouldn't answer, he wouldn't touch on stuff. He wouldn't address this. He wouldn't address that. I don't know.
We had people asking like, what, like, I think you had put in your lead in that it seemed like he was in a funk, and it wasn't like he wasn't like, this wasn't a rude exchange or anything like that. It just, Juwan Howard, when he's in front of the media, he's usually smiling, he's glowing. It's, it's energetic. It might've been just an off day, but because he's such a positive person, his demeanor was noticeable. I mean, for Jim Harbaugh, that type of interaction is probably just par for the course. That's not a bad thing. It's just how he interacts.
It just felt out of character. Juwan is, like you just said, he's usually kind of joking around. He makes, kind of off the cuff remarks that are usually kind of funny and positive. And I don't know. It was just, something was off today. When I watched it, I was like, dang, like Juwan's something's bugging him. And maybe it was that. Maybe it was the second fiddle feeling to football. But I mean, come on, man. A road game for Michigan football against Penn State versus like an out-of-town game against Prairie View A&M. Like, I mean, I get it from his standpoint, but I don't know. I'm
not saying that's what it just, that's the only thing that makes sense. Like,
that is what it felt like. And you're not the first person that I saw, come up with that idea, or maybe that's why he was a little miffed. But at the end of the day, Michigan basketball 2-0, easy win over Prairie View A&M in a pretty decent contest tomorrow against Seton Hall. An experienced team. Obviously, they play better competition. They're going to be a little bit more talented. They've got some more size than these first two teams that they played against. So we'll see how that goes. Looking forward to watching that. So this weekend was wild, right? We're going to do the football thing. We're going to do a little bit of the other side of stuff. I know I let a lot of people down on Friday night that we didn't go live. Everybody was waiting to see like cool hit party Brandon, and it didn't happen. We drove all day. We get to our spot. We're trying to get settled in. We're trying to buy stuff for the tailgate. We're trying to figure out sleeping arrangements. We're going downstairs. So our Airbnb was above a bar. So we're like, all right, Chris, do we want to do a live stream from the room? Do we want to go down to the bar and have a little ambiance, a little cool background? Then we're like, oh, we got to go get food. We got to buy stuff for tomorrow. We got to do this. We got to do that. And at the end of the day, we just kind of said, it's just not going to work out, man. It's just not going to work out timing-wise. So apologies, everybody. You didn't get to see me and Chris in our best form. But it was a really good time getting set up and doing what we did there. We'll handle the football side of things first a little bit because of the weird schedule and the traveling on Friday and doing all that. I didn't put out my specific predictions article that I typically do, but we did make score predictions. And then I went through and kind of jotted down 4 or 5 or 6 things that stood out to me from the game that we will discuss instead. So first things first, Michigan beats Penn State 21-17. It was back and forth. It was a good game. There were some really loud moments in that stadium, some really quiet moments. Our buddy Zach, who is a diehard Penn State fan, was roller coaster the whole time. Like
we all were.
Everybody, exactly. And at the end of the day, Michigan wins by 4. Chris, you said 23-17. So you nailed Penn State's score. I said 24-20. I got the difference correct. I feel like a lot of people kind of saw it going this way.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised by the final result. I actually wasn't surprised by how the game played out at all up until the very end. I saw it playing out in a similar fashion to what played out in East Lansing, where Michigan might seem like they're in control early, Penn State rallies late, and then the wheels come off. And, you're right. Like, first of all, Beaver Stadium, sitting in the press box there, that's one of the best views. We talked about this a little bit. We've been around to some different stadiums that it was, I don't know that there's a bad view from inside the press box. Now, I will say the press box is a death trap of, different levels and tripping hazards. So could use some updates there, but it's a beautiful view. But yeah, I thought this was going to be a close game, but if Penn State rallied late, what Beaver Stadium turns into, and you heard it. It's that the top is always ready to blow off. As soon as Penn State does anything remotely good, that stadium is rocking. And Michigan was able to weather the storm. They were able to get the W, and it was a good old fashioned Big Ten fist fight, but Michigan came out on top. And that was where it was like, holy shit, it's nice to be on this side of it.
Yeah. I mean, I've said this to several people now. Obviously, I didn't want to hear the crowd get going. I didn't want Penn State to have momentum. But when they took the lead late in the game and the white pom-poms were going and they were doing the "we are," I mean, it was goosebumps, man.
Yeah.
The energy and the environment in there. And we talked about this too. Can you imagine 110 to 112,000 at night, a pure whiteout with all of those pom-poms? I mean, it was cool enough as it was to see it in that stadium, the backdrop with the little, kind of the gentle mountains back. It was beautiful,
Yeah,
man. It was an awesome venue. I'm super glad we went, super glad we got to check it out. It was a little chilly for our buddies in the stands.
Yeah.
Had to shoot him a text at one point, like, whew, I'm getting a little warm up here. Let me take my
It was toasty up there. It was real toasty.
while they're down there, like, dying in the cold like a bunch of sardines. But
what's worse, being too hot for a game or too cold? Too cold for
probably
sure,
too
right?
cold. Yeah, probably too cold. But yeah. Here's one of the homies right now. Nick Maximchuk was in tow. Real comfy seating. He also made a comment about we were using the word hotel liberally earlier when I talked about the place we stayed. I was talking about the hotel in State College where we stopped for our other buddy to make an emergency bathroom break. Anyway, yeah, the game itself though was a lot of fun, a lot of back and forth, and obviously some highs and some lows for both fan bases. And then at the end of the day, Michigan gets a really big win. We'll talk about the magnitude of that a little later on, but a couple things that stuck out to me, Chris, and I'll let you kind of give your opinion on some of these things that I pulled out. Also want to let everybody know right now, keep it locked. At about 7:30, we have a very special guest coming through. I don't want to say who it is yet. Just got confirmation, got the email address. I'm going to send that invitation out here as Chris starts speaking when I point out this first little talking point that I saw. We're going to start with Hassan Haskins. The dude was a beast. No Blake Corum. Donovan Edwards was available. He only played 5 snaps. And he only had 2 carries. Hassan Haskins carried the ball 31 times for 156 yards. He didn't score, but he was so efficient and so effective and such a grinder and got so many extra yards after contact. In fact, this is the part I wanted to talk about because I don't know if you heard this or saw this. I didn't know it until today when Jim Harbaugh talked about it at the press conference, and former colleague Zach Shaw tweeted something out about it from Pro Football Focus. Hassan Haskins has 70 first down runs on the season. That is more than anyone in college football.
Yeah.
He played 70 of 72 offensive snaps as a running back. Like that doesn't happen in today's world of college football. That is unbelievable and a testament to how he was playing on Saturday. I guess first things first, the 70 first down runs more than anybody in college football this year. And then the fact that he literally didn't come off the field all day, just both of those things pretty incredible.
He almost looks like a robot or like a machine. He just, the way, like I went to lunch with my mom, for instance, this afternoon. She was talking about the game on Saturday, how he was dragging 4 and 5 would-be tacklers. And, watching him week after week, that's just something he does. He's either jumping over people or he's dragging half of the defensive line for an extra 5 to 10 yards. The guy's just an absolute workhorse. And I think having the complement of Blake Corum there for the bulk of the season, obviously before he went down with injury, it helped him stay healthy. He didn't have to, take a bulk of the carry. So he's able to save his body for this time in the season where they really need to be able to ride him. They certainly did that on Saturday. And man, if they can get this type of performance from Hassan Haskins over the next 2 weeks, coupled with the defense and where Aiden Hutchinson is playing and how well Cade McNamara is playing, this team is gelling at the right time. And Hassan Haskins is a big reason for it. I went back and watched highlights. It's not just the way he runs the ball. Watch the way he blocks. Watch how physical he is when he's out on the field. He's not just doing the big things. He's doing all the little things. And I think if David Ojabo's draft stock has obviously, risen quite a bit here during the season, but there's got to be scouts looking at Hassan Haskins and watching him drag defenders all over the field saying, man, that guy would look good in our colors. So shout out to him, man. He's been under the radar. I think Blake Corum got, a lot of the attention early on as he should have. He was electric, but Hassan is really settling in. And if Michigan's going to get to Indy, he's going to be the guy that's going to carry him there offensively.
No doubt. And to your point about doing the little things, yes, playing special teams. He's on like punt return and punt block and things like that. He just does it all. Jim Harbaugh loves him. You can tell it when he talks about him. And he mentioned today, that he actually said without knowing, he's like, I don't know if they keep track of this stat, but he's probably picked up more first downs than anybody. And he has.
Yeah.
He's done it 70 times. Unbelievable. Always falling forward, always getting extra yardage after contact. He was incredible on Saturday. And again, man, 70 offensive snaps at running back is just unheard of nowadays.
Is it safe to say that, and look, all the credit goes to Hassan Haskins, but I feel like some of the credit also, like I feel like the mental makeup, particularly of the running back room, is different. They run angry, they run violent. It looks like that is a more energized group this year. And so I think you can really see that the impact of Mike Hart is pretty big.
Very important question here before we move on to my next talking point. Chris, were you wearing high maize and blue socks? If not, you have a twin at the game. Chris.
I was not. I was not wearing high maize and blue socks. I think I was all in black this time. So yeah, it wasn't me, but I hey, there's a lot of really, really good looking bald men with beards out there. So I'm not surprised, if you saw somebody who looked like, there's a lot of us out there. It's an exclusive club, but we're always welcoming new members.
That's right. There you go. All right. This was the next thing that stuck out to me as I was looking through the numbers and some of the stat counts and the things that guys did. DJ Turner, Daxton Hill, Vincent Gray, Josh Ross, and Brad Hawkins never came off the field on defense. All 5 of those guys played every single defensive snap. And actually, on both sides of the ball this week, the rotations were much, much tighter. Only 19 guys played on both sides of the ball, which dude, the whole gang is in here now after this weekend. There's another.
I have never been attacked so much for my attire. Well, it was 6 guys in an SUV, and I wore sweatpants shorts. These guys are stepping out in like Abercrombie and American Eagle, and I'm like, I thought we were on a road trip. Just a bunch of guys crammed in a car.
Chris sat in the back seat with our long lost friend Zach, who we haven't seen in a long time. We all know why Chris wore the soft shorts. All right, let's put that out there. No, I mean,
cozy was the name of the game. Everything I packed for our trip to Happy Valley was sweatpants material, whether it was the tops, the bottoms. Cozy was the name of the game.
And Nick, real quick, on behalf of Chris and I both, we would like to apologize to your wife for this odor of the vehicle that she got when she got it back. I mean, Chris, you rattled off several of the things that led to the odor.
Lots. Man feet, jerky, 6 bodies in there, bubblegum, Mountain Dew, heat, shoes, Pennsylvania Dutch country.
Lewis town, baby.
Hey, shout out to that place, that place we stayed in, that bar. That was a cool little setup. If you go, maybe we'll try to plug that place a little bit, because if anybody out there is going to take a trip out to Happy Valley and you don't want to break the bank, staying right downtown or right near the stadium, it's a cool little place. It's right above a bar. You can drink as much as you want and then go up and pass out. It's a nice little setup. So we'll get you the info. Nice.
I wouldn't recommend taking your wife there for your anniversary necessarily, but if you got 5 dudes and you need a place to sleep, 4 spare bedrooms, and 1 guy brought an air mattress, we were good to go. Our tiny little friend, Nick Maximchuk, slept on the couch. He was comfortable. It was great, man. It was a great time out there, and we had a lot of fun. It was, I don't know, what was it, maybe 30 minutes driving into State College, right around there?
Yeah, it wasn't bad at all. I mean, we were one of the first people to the tailgate, so.
Yeah. I mean, we left really early, so. Dude, I love the crowd that's here today.
What's going on here? Everybody's airing my dirty laundry. Yes, I wear sweatpants every day.
Mrs. Breiler, that's his normal everyday attire.
If you think you see me in public and I'm not wearing sweatpants, it's not me.
He's probably going to a funeral. We'll say that.
Well, that's where the black sweatpants come out.
All right. This one was surprising to me, and we saw this right from the beginning. And I actually heard, Chad Shepard, who is one of the sports information people from Michigan, say it was a coach's decision, but RJ Moten only played 1 snap. Rod Moore, true freshman, got the start back there at safety and played a lot of football, made some good plays, made some nice tackles. I mean, anytime a safety plays maybe for the first time and you don't hear his name, like, that's a good thing. And I don't think we heard Rod Moore's name all day, which means he didn't get burnt, he didn't get beat, he didn't make any mistakes. But RJ Moten, a guy who's played pretty well this year in a really big game on the road, 1 snap. I mean, I'm not I haven't heard one thing, but if it's a coach's decision and he doesn't play, kind of sounds like doghouse. I don't know. That's how I took that when I saw that. I'm not trying to get a rumor started, but that's kind of crazy that in that big of a game, you take your every game starter and put him on the bench and play a true freshman in Rod Moore.
Yeah. I mean, you can only draw a couple conclusions out of that. Obviously Rod Moore hadn't played much during the season, and RJ Moten was a staple in that defense. And so, yeah, I'm not going to read too much into it. I think people who see it for what it is can draw their own conclusion and let it be that.
RJ Moten played, Rod Moore played a good game back there, made a couple key plays.
Yeah.
looked good. Looked good as a true freshman back there at safety. I think he graded out pretty well, if I'm not mistaken, too. I'll have to go back and look at that. Last but not least, Jim Harbaugh touched on it today. He gave a ton of props to Sean Clifford for getting beat up in that game. He got sacked a bunch. He got hit a bunch. And I just wanted to put it in comparison and shed some light on this. I'm sure they probably talked about this on the broadcast, and it may have been brought up, but Sean Clifford got sacked 7 times in that game. Cade McNamara has been sacked 5 times all season. That's crazy. That's crazy. And it's guys like Aiden Hutchinson and David Ojabo, who had 5 sacks between the two of them, just lighting Clifford up all day. And he's a tough cookie, man. He bounced back and played the whole game and made some plays, but yeah, he's got a couple ice baths ahead of him this week, I'm sure.
Yeah, and you got to think that plays into, if you're a quarterback and you've still got Michigan on the schedule and you reside over there in College Park, Maryland, or you're down in Columbus, you've got to be thinking about David Ojabo and Aiden Hutchinson. Those guys they're always in the backfield. They're always, causing disruptions. Yes, we heard about Jim Harbaugh's pants catching on fire. I think I shared it on the page, but really, really good player.
Yeah, it was man, it was an onslaught. I mean, I think everybody watching, I mentioned it. Hutchinson and Ojabo got in the sack column in less than a minute into the game. They both had a sack.
Yeah.
Less than a minute.
I think once that happened on that defensive series, I'm like, all right, Michigan's got it.
Well, you know what? I actually had a different thought. I was very encouraged by how much pressure they were able to get, and then there was an intentional grounding? I think so Hutchinson actually got credited for another sack, and they lost the snap, they lost the down, lost the yardage. They still went down and got points after all that. They still went down and got points, and I was like, man, dude, like if they're going to be able to overcome all that stuff on the first drive and put points on the board, it was just a field goal. But that was
Speaking of Sean Clifford, I mean, what was working in the first half was the quarterback run. And what scared me the most was him, running up the middle or kind of getting outside the pocket. It seemed like it was working early. I'm wondering if the hits from Ojabo and Hutchinson took its toll, and because you didn't see him running much after the first quarter, and that seemed to be working. So there might've been something there, probably a lingering injury from something before.
Do you think we can squeeze TFG in before we have our guest? It's about 7:25.
We can do that.
Maybe 5 to 7 minutes. We can try to get through this, and we'll do TFG, and we'll see what comes up. You got yours ready to roll?
Yeah, I got mine ready to roll.
I actually have 3. I can tone it down as we're waiting on our guest to come in. You want to go first? Or you want me to get us going while you think a little bit?
I'll let you get us going,
dude.
This guy.
I'm going James Franklin. I still cannot comprehend that fake field goal call early in the game. That really would have. I swear to this day, at this moment, that changed the entire game. Sean Clifford, I think you come out. It was 4th and goal from the 2 or something like that. Sean Clifford was running all over the place on those first couple of drives. I think you go 5 wide right there. You give it to Clifford. You say, go try to get in the end zone. Try to get in. If you don't, that sucks. But then Michigan's got the ball on the inch line, and then you see what they can do and try to figure it out. Instead, they throw it behind the line of scrimmage to the kicker. I mean, he obviously didn't even get close, and he ended up fumbling. It was one of the worst calls I've ever seen in a game. In that moment, in that game when it was working, and they needed to try to make a play right there, like that was a gift. That was a gift from James Franklin and Penn State. That was an awful call. I asked you as soon as it was over. I'm like, can you imagine if Jim Harbaugh did that? Can you freaking imagine what would be going on if Jim Harbaugh did that? Terrible decision, terrible call. He seems like he's already got a foot out the door. I don't know. James Franklin.
This guy.
There you go.
All right, Brandon, I hate to do this to you, man, but
oh boy.
My TFG of the week. It's my homie, my guy. I love you.
Guy.
But it's Brandon Brown. Brandon Brown is my TFG. And here's why.
I might know why.
There's 2 reasons. There's 2 reasons. Okay. Actually, you know what? No. I'm going to give 3 reasons. 3 reasons why you're TFG of the week. Are you ready for this? Number one, Brandon Brown packs of football for us to play with while we're at the tailgate. We leave
I got a
for the
rebuttal.
tailgate.
I already
we
have a
leave.
rebuttal.
Well, you hold on 1 second. We leave for the tailgate. Guess what Brandon Brown doesn't bring? Doesn't bring the football. So we had to go take it from a little kid. No big deal. We were able to get by that. Brandon Brown then goes and is searching through his bag, looking for some things, looking for his credential.
I gotta go.
And then all of a sudden discovers that he's got a parking pass inside that envelope after the guys had already paid, what was it, a couple $100 for the parking pass? Brandon Brown had a freebie one. He had a freebie one.
It was like $50 a person.
It was like $50 a person. And then third and finally, and probably most egregious, we get back to our spot at the end of the night after the game. We're back at the bar. We're back at our place. And Brandon is ready to call it a night. Brandon's got to turn it in. So wait, hold on. Whoa. So Brandon's putting on his PJs. I'm like, Brandon, I'm ready to go down. I'm ready to turn one on. He's putting on his PJs. But then he stops in my room like every 2 or 3 minutes. And he's like, hey, Chris, you hear they're playing the new Drake album down there? I'm like, yes, let's go. Nah, my body can't do it. 5 minutes later, here comes Brandon. Hey, do you hear they're playing Fetty Wap down there? I'm like, what are you doing? Are we going or are we not going?
Yeah.
So we ultimately, we played it safe. It was going to be a 6-hour drive on the way back. We were going to run into some weather. We didn't want to have, pounding heads on the way back. Ultimately a good decision. We were more responsible than I'd hoped, but for those reasons and those reasons alone, Brandon, you are my TFG of the week.
Guy.
I can't fight him that hard. Okay, first one, and Hennige's coming to my defense right here. The football that I brought. Our building wasn't a marvel of modern engineering. Okay, so the floors were awfully some of this here. They got the football out and laid it down on the floor to test how uneven the floors were. The football ended up wedged behind the air mattress that I had nothing to do with, and that's why we couldn't find it in the morning.
All right, we'll take you off the hook for the football.
I had it on my nightstand next to my phone. There's no way I was forgetting it. That one's not my fault. Second point, I didn't ask for a parking pass. Those are supposed to cost money. I have no idea why it was folded up inside pieces of paper inside the little envelope that had my credential in it. We get to the game, and I take everything out to put, and I'm like, there's a parking pass right here. Why? And also, we purchased our tailgating spot before we had that envelope in hand.
That is true. Okay, true. Good point.
Point number 2, squashed.
Fine. You got nothing for 3. You got nothing for 3.
I got nothing. I really wanted to go down and party. I heard Fetty Wap. I heard Drake. I saw Chris snuggling in his bed, and I thought maybe we could go down.
I was all in. I was all ready.
You did hit the ginseng one more time.
Yeah.
You hit the Jovan ginseng. You were ready to go.
I hit it. I gave myself a couple sprints.
Rodney's passed out on the air mattress with his boots on. I think Nick was already in bed with the door locked and shut.
Oh my God. Yes. Eating chips. It was a really sad scene. It was just a bunch of dads just trying to recapture their youth. And I think to a certain extent we did, but there's a reason why they say father time is undefeated, and the body wants what the body wants, and the body wanted some sleep. So,
all right. So I rebuked 2 of those things.
Yeah.
But the third one was bad. Yeah. I'm sorry, D Brown, making the Brown family look bad here. I apologize. But dude, all in all, it was a great time. I guess I'll go into another TFG as we're kind of waiting for our guests to show up here, because I don't want to get into one of these long segments and then have to pause.
You sent the link, right? It's
out there. Okay. I did. We're waiting on that. My other TFG. So after the game yesterday, we go downtown. We go to a lovely establishment called The First, one of the most crowded bars I've been to in over a decade, probably shoulder to shoulder, can't even move, can't even walk. At one point, I'm standing at the bar, probably three waves back from getting to the bar and actually placing my order. And I'm just kind of standing there. It's loud, it's hot, it's crowded. And I feel somebody kind of, a little closer than I thought they should be. And I can kind of hear something. And dude, I look over and there's a guy damn near using my shoulder as a plate for a whole meal of like a Reuben sandwich and French fries and ranch and Thousand Island. He's on me. This dude is on me.
This fucking guy
eating a Reuben like I heard how it tasted. That's how close he was to me. While I'm just trying to get a drink, dude. He's right there on my shoulder, eating a Reuben, way closer to me than anybody should ever be eating anything. And it was like, it wasn't like chips or, a sucker. It was a freaking Reuben, dude. Have you ever had a Reuben? I know you're.
I haven't. I heard they're messy. Don't you dip a Reuben? Don't you
Dude,
dip it in like a
Thousand Island? It's melted Swiss.
Yeah.
It's sauerkraut. It's corned beef.
I ain't never dipped one on somebody's shoulder. I can tell you that.
It's not an ear shoulder meal. I'll put it that way. And
that scene was a nightmare. That was an absolute nightmare.
And the last one, man, I don't really know if I want to get into this because it's pretty gross. If you've got a problem with toilet humor and fart jokes and things that, feel free to turn it off now and come back in about 5 or 10 minutes when our guest is here. We get to the bar. I've got to go to the bathroom, like a lot of people do after
as usual, per the usual.
Yeah. Go in there, check the stall. It looked like something out of the Discovery Channel. The toilet had piles of things, toilet paper, bodily fluids, out the top pile onto the floor. I have frequented a lot of nasty bar bathrooms. By far the worst one I've ever seen. It was on a level that I have never seen before. So needless to say, I didn't use it. Not touching that, not going there, not doing that, whatever. Like an hour later, I go back into the bathroom to go number one. And there's a person in the stall using the bathroom, using the toilet. Couldn't believe it. I could not believe my eyes. I stay there. I go. I'm washing my hands. Guy comes out. I'm pretty tuned up at this point. So I start talking to him over the stall, actually, before he comes. I don't care, whatever. Before he comes out. He comes out. I'm like, dude, how are you doing that? How is this happening? How are you using the bathroom right now? This is insanity. He comes out. He says, I just kind of stood over it and pushed really hard. That's what he said. That's what he said.
We are really going into great detail here.
Then he put, I hope he washed his hands first. He puts his hand on my shoulder and he says,
how could he have washed his hands first? Didn't he just step out?
He puts his hand on my shoulder and he says, don't look at me. And he turns his head away. And then before we get ready to walk out, he comes up to me and he says, I'm just a man. And turns and walks out of the bathroom. And then like 20 or 30 minutes later, I saw same dude macking on some young lady. And I was just like, that poor girl
has no idea
what she's getting herself into tonight.
This fucking guy
is my TFG of the day. And without further ado, and I hope the audio works. I hope our internet connection is strong. He was wrapping some stuff up. I think a meeting or maybe it was practice. I don't know. We'll find out.
Who knows?
Super, super pumped to be joined by none other than the BMOC, the big man on campus, everybody's favorite tight end, Mr. Eric All is in the house with Wolverine Digest. Eric, how are you doing, my man?
Doing good. How are you guys?
We are
good. It's nice and clear. Nice and clear, too.
Yeah, I think the connection's going to be good. Eric, I know you said you were taking care of something, couldn't make it at 7, but we really appreciate you coming in at 7:30, and I know there's a lot of people who are really, really big fans of you after this weekend, my man. So how is everything going now on a Monday after that day, that play, that game that you had on Saturday?
I mean, everything's going great. Normal Monday. We just finished walkthrough. I just started doing like a intense rehab for my ankle and stuff. So just getting better in the training room a lot. About it.
Well, I was gonna ask. That was the question I had a little ways down my list, but since you brought it up, I'll go right there. It sounds like I saw some of the quotes that came out. The Penn State guys knew you were dealing with the ankle. I know you were suited up against Indiana, but you didn't play. How is the ankle? Like, how are you feeling physically? And did anything bother you on Saturday? Obviously, it looked like you felt pretty good on the big play at the end there.
The ankle is getting better. It's probably at like 80% now. I mean, throughout the game, I'm sure it would be hurting like pretty bad in practice, but like the adrenaline, like I said, took over. and but it's getting better. I mean, in the game, it was hurting like when I was like driving, like blocking, like trying to cut up field to like get leverage and stuff on different blocks. But it felt fine pretty much. I mean, a couple tweaks here and there, but pain would go away like after like 5 minutes after tweaking it. So.
Like you said, that adrenaline was probably going pretty hard, I would say.
Yeah.
And you've really been coming on lately. You had 10 catches against Michigan State, career high. Obviously, the huge play against Penn State. Did this the Indiana game where you were dressed and suited and probably could have went if you had to. But what have you felt about your involvement in the offense lately and just kind of how you've been used? Obviously, when you were out, Luke Schoonmaker goes and gets 2 touchdowns. I mean, like, there's a lot going for that tight end group right now. So how's everything going with your involvement in the offense as we come down the stretch here?
It's going great. I mean, it always felt like, like we weren't like getting like where we weren't being like utilized as much as far as like in the passing game. We haven't really like in the tight end room been focused on that like too much. Like we just focusing on like trying to get our blocks and like opening up the run game and being at the point of attack, and really we just haven't focused on like the pass game too much. But coach started trusting us and believing in us in the tight end room and allowing us to get into open space and to get balls. So I guess like he's he found something in the tight end room, I guess is what it seems like. I'm happy. Feels great, so.
Absolutely.
We're all happy. We're all happy.
Yeah, a lot of people are happy about that. Eric, I've always been really interested about this with you, man. I actually used to be at Rivals, so I've been at a Rivals camp where you were at, and you were basically a big wide receiver then. You weren't really viewed as a tight end. Yeah. Came to Michigan, not undersized, but I mean, you're not a 260-pounder when you get to Michigan as a freshman. But people like Sharon Moore, when he was coaching the tight ends, and now you hear it from Coach Harbaugh himself, have talked about how you love to block. And like that's weird because you used to be basically a wide receiver. I just wonder, and you're still not the biggest tight end on the roster, but where does that ability and that want to block come from? Because normally tight ends, they want to be wide receivers. They want to be out there catching passes and scoring touchdowns, but it seems like it's almost backwards for you.
I guess it just comes from like just always being like blocker, like for like previous teams, like in high school and like middle school. Like I was always just like a blocker, and like I also like coming up, like because my dad was my coach and for Pee Wee football and stuff, and really just like we always like just love to hit a lot, and like we just like thrive for that, especially during Pee Wee and middle school. But that just kind of just kept with me. I mean, it's always just been a thing like that I enjoy doing. And just when I came into the season, or when I came into Michigan out of high school, like obviously like I heard that a lot, like from like the media, like undersized tight end won't be able to block and that stuff. Just like this hyped me, amped me up to like go out and block more. So
the media,
gave me a better excuse to go out there and hit some people.
Those terrible media people, right?
Right.
So I got a question. I just want to go straight to it. Take me through the play. Take me through the play on Saturday. You catch the ball coming across the field. I'm watching you from the press box. I'm like, I don't think he's running fast enough to get there. And then lo and behold, you're like pulling away from defensive backs. And I get your stride was just longer than I thought. Did you know you were that fast? Did you think you were going to make it to the end zone? What was going through your mind on that play?
When I caught the ball, first I was thinking about just catching the ball, because it was like, just like a bang bang play. I was just like, I seen the window that I was going to catch it in. And kid had like slightly like thrown it before I got there, so I was like, "Oh snap! I gotta get there to catch it." And that was the first thing. And then when I rounded to go to the or to like cut up the field, I like tweaked my ankle a little bit. I was like, "Oh snaps!" And I was basically thinking like, "Man, I gotta get going. They're gonna catch me." And I really just had like a tunnel vision, like to the pylon. I was just gonna die. I was thinking I was gonna have to die and touch the pylon.
Yeah.
But some like I forget who it was, but like I forget what number they were. But like they hit my ankles, and I was mainly thinking about like keeping my ankle away from like this guy so he doesn't touch it.
Yeah.
And then I like reached the ball out and like touched the pylon. But like I didn't think, honestly, thought I wasn't gonna get there.
It was a long way. It was a long way. Yeah.
So you get to the end zone, and Brandon just said this before we hopped on. I'm blown away. I am blown. And somebody said this in the comments too. Your first career touchdown at the University of Michigan. I'm shocked by that. I mean, was that I know it was a big moment for you, but was that kind of surreal that the first touchdown came at that moment in that game when you guys needed it to win the game? I mean, that's a special thing.
Yeah, it was like honest, like it felt great like at the time, but I feel like it really hasn't hit yet. I was just talking to Jake Butt like right before I got on here. Like it really hasn't like hit me yet like that. Like, but we was talking and he was just like, maybe it won't hit. Maybe you just got that tunnel vision for the Ohio State game. Maybe that's really what you want. And maybe I think he might be right. I mean, I don't know. I feel like anybody could have made that play. I feel like I made it closer.
I can tell you, I couldn't have made that play. Brandon couldn't have made that play. So
I'm talking about like on the team, like any guy on the team could have made it.
Oh, actual athletes, yeah.
You know, I was actually going to ask Jim Harbaugh about this today at the press conference because he had one of the strongest statements about you earlier in your career. I don't know. I'm sure you've heard it at this point. It might have been your freshman year. Maybe it was last year. I can't remember. But he said that Eric All is good enough to be the best tight end to ever play at Michigan. He actually said that. I mean, that's high praise. You just mentioned a guy, Jake Butt, who's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
I found myself thinking about when you caught that ball, you turn upfield and you go 47. And for everybody out there who didn't remember, it was number 4 for Penn State, Kalen King. That's a Michigan kid, by the way. He's from Cass Tech. He decided to go to Penn State. That Eric outran to the end zone. So there you go. But I don't know. I was going to ask, first point, how close is Eric to reaching his full potential? And second point, how many tight ends in America could have done that? Could have caught the ball, turned it up, gone 50 yards, and outran a DB to the end zone. So we'll start with the first part for you, Eric. How close do you feel like you are to your ceiling at Michigan? Like, what do you have to get better at? What are you still trying to do better as a tight end at this point in your career?
Really just sustaining my blocks. I honestly did pretty terrible that the whole game. The touchdown really saved me, to be honest. But the first game back after injury, I feel like I just need to like sustain my blocks more and like definitely get stronger. I'm gonna have to get stronger over the off season if I want to like dominate in the blocking game. Really like after I catch the ball, like I noticed like instead of like just catching the ball and then going upfield like how Andrell did in that the versus Michigan State, how he caught that ball and just turned upfield immediately. Like I catch the ball and like scan the field first before I like cut up or do what I'm doing. So I need to focus on catching the ball and then keeping that same momentum and getting upfield. Like I did it on the play that I scored, and then I did it in the red zone when I caught like that little wheel route in the red zone for on the left side. Like I feel like I just need to be confident and like not worry about like making the first man miss as much as I am. I feel like it's keeping me from gaining more yards. But that's like really after watching film, that's like the more things I need to focus on rather than like trying to deliver like big blows and like trying to like devastate a blocker. Like it's not high school anymore. And I just got to get out of that mentality. I just need to beat people with technique and stuff. I'm always trying to out-muscle people.
I wonder. You had the coaching change, the coaching staff changes where you went from Sharon Moore to now Jay Harbaugh's back at the tight end spot. Are you talking about those things? I mean, is that your own self-reflection? Are you recognizing in yourself, like, I need to do this? Have the coaches talked to you about that? Like, where does that? I mean, that's a pretty aware self-assessment. I feel like to pick out some details like that. Like, did you just find that, or are they helping you through some of that?
Coach always points out like sustaining blocks, but like when it comes to like the other stuff, like that's just off of like me watching myself. But like he definitely coaches me on like a lot of stuff like footwork and like hand placement, pad level, and like in sustaining blocks. He's really like the main one to like emphasize that with me. And like the more he like talks about it, the more I notice that I'm not doing it. I did start doing it, but then I got injured, and I come back this next game, and I just look terrible in the blocking game. I look terrible. But yeah, it's both kind of. Yeah. But like when it comes to like catching the ball and like getting yards and stuff, that's just like me looking at it like I look soft. Like I have to get so much ball get up the field.
Yeah.
So from the outside looking in, people, they thought once you get past Penn State, now it's all about Ohio State, right? That's where, everything is going to go through Ohio State. But you got a game before that. You've got Maryland. How do you guys keep yourselves from overlooking that big road game so that November 27th means as much as you hope it means?
Actually, I actually talked about this today with like some of the players, and like we all like know like we cannot overlook Maryland. Like we can't like at all. Like we know Ohio State is like everything we've been looking for, like been waiting for this season is to get to the Ohio State game. But like we know like Maryland, we're gonna have to like take Maryland serious, and they got a good defense, good offense, and like they're like no slouches, and they're fighting to get into the Pro Bowl or not a Pro Bowl, a bowl game.
Yeah.
And we're not gonna take them lightly. We're gonna treat them like we were playing Penn State or Ohio State. We're gonna attack the game plan and hopefully have like a great week of practice. So.
Several players were asked about this at the media availability today. We spoke with Cade McNamara and Chris Hinton and Mike Barrett, and they all said almost exactly what you just said. Just one game at a time. Maryland's not a slouch. They've got a good quarterback. They've got some explosive offensive guys. They're at home. I mean, all those things, do stack up pretty well for them. I wonder who in the tight end room kind of leads that discussion. I mean, you're not exactly like an old guy, but you've been playing for a few years now. You've got Schoonmaker in there too. I hear Carter Selzer's name come up a lot, even though he doesn't play quite as much, being kind of one of the older, smarter guys. Like, how does that conversation go in the tight end room specifically as one of the smaller position groups on the team, really?
Really, like, there's like no specific like leader in our tight end room. Like we all like we tell each other like one day I'll come in like, hey, we gotta come out and get things going. Like we can't like keep doing the wrong things or something. Or like Sales would be like, hey, we gotta work harder. Or like Joel would jump in there, Scooney would jump in there, Hibby would jump in there. I feel like we're just everyone's hungry in the tight end room, but like as well as like the team, like everybody like faces each other, and like we like especially like with special teams, like that's a real big emphasis like in games and like in practice and walkthroughs, and we like get each other together and get our minds right. So it's not really like a leader in the tight end room, but like if I would say there was a leader, I would say probably Sheriff or Sales.
Yeah. It's funny that's his nickname too. I think multiple people have called him that this year, and everybody's like, "Why?" Yeah. Nobody really knows. They're just like, I forget who it was.
The reason why they call him Sheriff is because he knows everything. Real smart dude. He makes sure you're like you're in the right mind. Like you got your head in the game. He's just like someone to look up to. Like especially like in the tight end room, like I'm blessed to like have Sheriff. I'm blessed to have Sales because like if it wasn't for him, like, I feel like I wouldn't know like a lot of things that I need to know. Because because we take quizzes like almost every day, and he like grades them and like make sure I got this like correction and stuff. So
That's
He's a
pretty
real
cool.
great leader. If there was a leader in the tight end room, I'd say it was Sales for sure.
Yeah, I thought his name might come up. Eric, some people in the comments are saying that there's an echo, so I'm going to take you out and try to bring you back in and see if we can get this audio fixed real quick. If not, I might need to take you all the way out, then you can just click in and come back in. So we'll see how this works. Okay, sorry about that, but we'll try to get it fixed real quick.
No.
All right, I don't know. So if anybody else can hear me or hear Chris and see if we have an echo, we'll try to get Eric fixed up and make sure that he can.
Let me check mine too. It's coming through on mine too. So
maybe it's just
come back in.
a connection thing online. Yeah, because it sounds fine for me, so I apologize for that. And we'll see if we can get it fixed out. So yeah, maybe jump out, Chris, and we'll bring Eric back in without Chris. All right, Eric, we got you back in here without Chris to see if the audio is good. I'll ask a question and you can talk and we'll see what they say real quick on this. I thought this was a good question. This actually came in from a commenter on the Facebook page. Is there a tight end out there or anybody, any position, I guess, maybe that you pattern your game after or that you think you would like to play like, or maybe you think you already do?
I'd say probably I want to block like Boyle from the Ravens or Doyle. I forget. It's a B or a D. And probably like what's his name for the Raiders? Waller. Josh Waller.
Got the same number and everything, right? You and him, 83. Yeah, Darren
and
Waller.
honestly, like I didn't even like I knew of him, and like I never really like watched a lot of his games, but like I think it was Chuck Filiaga or somebody. They were like, "Man, you look just like Josh Waller, and like you guys got the same number, same build, and everything." And I got to like watching him like and like seeing his story and seeing how he plays. I feel like we could be similar. Really, like I don't like watch a whole lot of NFL football, so I'm a college football watching guy.
Okay.
So, I don't know. I just try to go out there and just leave it all on the field, So.
Well, that leads me into. I was going to ask this earlier when we were talking about the specific play against Penn State, where you had enough speed to outrun a DB. Kind of the other guy had an angle, but you made it. Obviously, got to the pylon. You've said you just said you're a college football watcher. How many tight ends in the country you think are doing what you did? I mean, like I said, you've got your wide receiver background, so you've got some speed. You can do some things in the open field. Brag on yourself a little bit if you want to. How special of a play do you think something like that is for a tight end to catch it basically at the line of scrimmage and go 50 yards for a touchdown?
Yeah. I know that I seen that Georgia tight end run. He gets out there, and I feel like he could have definitely made that play. He probably would have went in there and untouched. That man was flying. Scooney definitely would have made the play.
Yeah, he can run. Yep.
Yeah, he flies. He probably would have went in there untouched. I don't know how fast that Notre Dame tight end is. He's pretty fast. But I don't know too much. I don't know too many tight ends. Like I haven't seen like too much like speed from any tight ends. But yeah, I really don't know. But I feel like I definitely would have been faster though if my ankle wasn't messed up. To be honest,
That's fair. We got a little comment in here from Blake Corum's dad saying, "What's up, Eric?"
What up?
One of our favorite guests. I think he tunes in for every episode, and we've had Blake on many times, so that's cool to see him in here. If anybody out there listening does have a question for Eric, throw it in the comments. We're getting close to wrapping up with him. So if you've got anything you want to ask about, I'll be happy to ask it for you.
Should we ask about the big question? I mean, should we even ask about it now, or should we just avoid Ohio State altogether until we get by Maryland?
Look,
the mentality? Let me ask you this. What's the mentality, Eric? Because you obviously know that's a big game. We talked about how you keep from overlooking Maryland, but the theme even in the preseason, going back to Big Ten media days, was you guys were not avoiding the Ohio State question, that if there were signs up in the locker room, there were signs up in the weight room, that you guys were fully embracing the rivalry. Can you talk a little bit about that? You didn't get to play last year, so you're 2 years removed from the game. You guys are finally going to meet back. What does this opportunity feel like that you have coming up in 2 weeks?
Man, we're just ready. I'm done. Everybody's just excited to get back out there against them. Honestly, guys haven't really been saying too much about it because we know we have to go we have to go week by week. But I feel like guys are gonna be prepared and guys are gonna be confident. I feel like guys are gonna be hungry. I feel like I don't know. I feel like we got a good chance going into this game. I feel like we got a good chance of anybody in the country, to be honest. Not only Ohio State, but like we really haven't. Like we're looking like we see Ohio State, like we know we got to beat them, and we know like we're like serious about the rivalry, but like we want to go more than just the rivalry. We want to go to the natty. So like we know like if we thrive every day to beat Ohio State, not only just beat them, we want to devastate them. We want to go into that game knowing like we left it all on the field and we just demolished them. And that's how we want to end that game. And honestly, like we're just trying to get to the natty. We're trying to get to the playoffs, and what really matters, what really like counts at this, what really is like what we think is more important is to get that natty as well as beating Ohio State, and they got it, and they're like in the way, so we got to get past them.
Yeah, and I asked Blake this earlier in the year, and I think it's an interesting question because a lot of people in the preseason, they didn't see Michigan, sitting at 9-1, 10-1. They didn't see you guys getting. There were a lot of people that were kind of viewing this as a rebuild year. Was there, at least from the outside looking in, I know you guys didn't have that mentality, but was there a point during the year where you guys realized, like, holy shit, like, we could really do something this year? Like, this is a good team. Was there a point during the season where you guys all kind of looked around and realized that you had something special there?
I think for me it was after that Washington game because that was really like our first like test, and when we went out there and seen that like our run game like is established, I was like, yeah, we're dangerous. Because last year like we threw the ball nonstop, like we didn't have a run game really, and teams were just playing 7-on-7 with us, like they weren't playing no run read or nothing. They said go. They were taking back step. They were backpedaling off the snap. So I feel like once I found out that we could establish or we can run the ball and we're physical in the trenches and we can catch the ball as well. We got speed and Cade back there. That's when I realized like, yeah, we're dangerous. But and then after that we played Wisconsin. And there was like question marks about if we could like throw the ball and this, that, and the other. And I knew, and I live with Cade, and we I used like we go and run routes, and like we have like we do a whole bunch of stuff at practice, and like we know like we can throw the ball. So like that really wasn't the question with me. The real question to me was the run game, and when we got out there and ran the ball all over Washington, that's when I realized, like, yeah, we're gonna be good. We went to that Wisconsin game confident though.
Yeah, I think Blake said the Wisconsin game was the same point for him where he was like, okay, we got something going here. I think it was you guys hadn't won there in a long time, almost 2 decades. It had been a while since you'd done it. You only played 5 games there, but the fact that you went up there and did that in that environment, I think that was the point for him where he finally hit that realization. I did want to get to this question from Nick because I'm curious myself. So selfishly, I want to ask it. You guys have trotted out a few different uniform combinations this year. So far, what's the favorite? I'll be honest. For me, the one against Penn State, the maize accessories and the armbands and the socks, I thought that was pretty frosty. But what do you think?
I like that too. I also like the what we wore to Michigan State, the white maize white.
Yeah,
I loved that. But in practice all week, we wore maize. We wore the maize with the blue accessories. Like guys had like blue Under Armours and blue socks and all this. But it looked good. I thought it looked good. But I love the all blue still from when we played Washington. I love the all blue. But
now,
I would say it's probably between the all blue and the white maize white, to be honest. Yeah.
Okay. Is there a combo yet that we haven't seen that we can maybe expect to see, with 2 games, 3 games, maybe even more left this season? Can we expect to see some more alternates?
Probably. I think Coach likes the alternates. We might hop out there in the white blue again, white with the white tops, blue bottoms. I think we could. I think we could get the white, yellow, white again. I don't know. You never know with Coach. I didn't think we were gonna. I didn't even think he was gonna bring the maize jerseys out. And when I heard that, I was shocked.
It's been a
But
nice.
I think they were gonna do all maize though for the game. But
So
I
we
thought
get-
the blue accessories look better.
We get into this debate a lot with the fans, but as somebody who plays, like, do those things matter to you? Like alternate uniforms, when you guys come out with something different or cool, like, does that play into like how you guys feel going into the game? Is the old adage, look good, feel good? Like, is that stuff important to you guys, or is it just overblown and not really something that's important?
I feel like it is. I feel like it does have something to do with like going out there and feeling like confident. I feel like I like it because like it adds the extra confidence to you. Like when you go out there looking good and dressing like in different uniforms out in front of the fans, especially when you're at home, it just adds a little extra juice. And especially like for guys on the team that like love like dressing like flashy and like to do stuff. I feel like.
Are you one of those guys? Are you the flashy guy? Are you dressing flashy?
Nah, I try to get a little drippy. At the beginning
An influx of
with the
drip?
one leg
See, if
flick.
I had the drop right there, I would play it. Yeah.
We try to get a little drippy from time to time, but we're pushing 40, so it doesn't look the same when we do it.
Eric All is probably 20 years old. He's about 6'5" out there in good shape, man. He can do the drip, man. Well, that's left up.
The Jordan athletic cut wasn't designed
Yeah.
for my body shape, so I'll stick to the Adidas fit, I guess.
I wanted to say one more thing. I hadn't thought about this, but as a former recruiting guy, Eric All is an Ohio product, man. He's a Fairfield, Ohio kid that didn't have an offer from Ohio State. So that I'm wondering, I mean, that's got to mean a little something. I know we got Maryland first. Maryland's coming up next week, but that Ohio State game is there. You said it all year. It's been there and it has been talked about. So as an Ohio kid, that's got to mean a little something to you.
Yeah, really. Like to be honest, I never loved Ohio State. Like I never even liked them. My family's always been like Alabama fans, and they beat us. They beat us when they had Zeke, and like ever since then, like I just hated them. And my I really like hated them because like you go to school and that's all you hear.
Yeah,
from guys on the bus.
Yeah,
guys at school. Like you get into some heated like arguments and like that is. I just hated them after that. Like my coach in high school, he had to force me to go to the Ohio State camp. I didn't want to go, but like other teams were there, like Kentucky and like Toledo and like all those other schools that were like supposedly like good at the time, but my coach forced me to go. Like he was like, "Yeah, you gotta go to this." Yeah, I really don't want to go because. I hated Urban. Oh, I should have said he's the league.
You can say it.
You can say. Well, yeah, he is in the league. Well,
yeah.
There's not going to be any love lost here. Well, yeah.
That's fair.
He's the kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean, I just hated him. To be honest, I really hated. I didn't like their tight end coach. I didn't like the school. I didn't like anything about them. They were in Columbus. The campus is trash.
He's doing it.
You fit right in Ann Arbor for sure.
And when I came up to Ann Arbor, I just loved it. And it just so happens like we both hated Ohio State. So
match made in heaven.
Perfect.
There you go.
Yeah.
I think that's about it. I was looking through some of the questions, but a lot of them are kind of stuff we've already asked. I don't want to overlook the fans who are in here listening to Eric, but there hasn't been much we haven't already talked about. So, somebody did ask. This is a quick one. Do you got a favorite route? Do you have a favorite route that you like to run? Something you think you are best at, something that you really like to do?
I ran it against Michigan State when I caught the ball. Number 6 was like on my back, and like I was like, he was like on my back, and I was still running down the field. He it's called like a little like we call it, I don't know, it's like an option route, and like you tempo it, and then like you can read based off the leverage like that they give you. You could either go like you could sit, you could go in, you could go out, you could go. So it's based off of what defense they run. They really can't like do much about it because if they have inside leverage, I'm gonna just go out. If they have outside leverage, I'm gonna go in. They're playing their back pedal, I'm just sit, and it's just like a go-to route for us. And
That's, I would imagine being living with Cade and getting a lot of extra reps. That's the kind of thing that really starts to form some chemistry.
Yes, it's like a feel. It's just like a feel route. Yeah, so I love that route. I also love running like posts and stuff. It's like sometimes you can add a little extra to it, get open. So,
well, Eric, we really appreciate the time, man. Obviously, a huge play. I mean, everybody went crazy. You see all the man. Some of those pictures of Eric coming down the Penn State sideline, and
James Franklin in the background.
Those are some iconic images that are going to live on forever, depending on how the rest of this season goes, for sure. Because it's the biggest play of the season so far, right there. So, congratulations on the success. Get healthy, get that ankle fixed up, man, and feel good on these last few games. And thanks for the time, man. I know you guys are busy. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, man. I'm not doing too much. I'm just chilling right now. So thanks you guys for having me on here.
Appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good one.
Yes, sir. All right. That's good stuff from Eric, man. I can't even imagine, dude. You're like 20 years old, make a play like that. And again, dude, first touchdown. I mean, I started to think back, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe that's the first score he's had, because he is so talented, man. I mean, he does so many things after he catches the ball. He looks like a wide receiver out there sometimes, and for that to be the first time getting in the end zone could not have come at a better time. So
that is just crazy. I
could
not believe it. Could not believe it.
Wild that was the first score for him. So just happy for him, man. Like I said, I covered him very briefly as a recruit. It might have even been a scenario, if I'm remembering correctly now, where I was at a camp that he was at, and he didn't have a Michigan offer yet, but he was killing it at the camp. And I remember thinking, like, who is this? He was a big wide receiver at the time. He was a wide receiver, and I was like, man, that kid looks pretty good, man. And then I think like a couple weeks later, he got offered by Michigan. I was like, damn, I could have had a chance to talk to him back at that camp. But anyway, really nice kid. Obviously has come a long way, has bulked up, has turned into a really, really good blocker, and has always had the athleticism and the ability as a pass catcher. And man, did it pay off on Saturday, because that play I thought that was really cool too, man. How every question we asked, he had an answer at the ready. He talked about, someone asked, like, because a lot of times I've seen the question, like, who do you model your game after? And you get like I really like a lot of guys. And he said two guys. I like Jack Doyle as a blocker. I like Darren Waller as a pass catcher. I want to be just like both of them. And then I asked him about other college tight ends. He's naming the guy from Georgia, and the guy from Notre Dame, and the guy from Schoonmaker too. I mean, I don't know. I like it when questions get freaking answered. I like that, and he answered every single one. That was fun, man. That was cool. What a moment for a player to have like that. For this,
it's a cool moment for us too. I think it's a cool moment for us. It's a cool moment for the fans to be able to like have a guy like that come on and answer some questions, who makes such a big play. And it really, goes back to all the NIL stuff. And this is what, NIL is allowing the fans and people like us to experience. It's just a really cool thing. Cool. And I'm happy that we're able to do that. So really cool for him, but really cool for us, man. The fact that we get to talk to him, the fact that we got to see him make that play, and the fact that Michigan is sitting in the spot that they're in. I do think it's cool, like that all of these guys seem to have a moment where they're like, this is real, like this is going to happen, and I always wonder when that happens. And it seems to be Wisconsin maybe is a common theme. I know Eric had mentioned it. Blake mentioned it the last time he was on. Maybe that was like the moment where things really took a turn.
I look rough today, bro. I'm a spring chicken out here today. Wow. I feel glorious.
Wow, he looks rough.
I feel like I got good complexion going today. Man, off the top rope. That's the same guy. Matthew, he's the one who always thinks I'm sitting on the toilet. So
on the toilet. Okay.
Yeah, it's fine. You kind of touched on this a little bit. The magnitude of that play, it's really kind of crazy to think that this comment right here from Will's Wolverine Report, that play that Eric All may have saved Jim Harbaugh's job. I don't know if that's a little strong, but I mean, I know the article I was getting ready to write had they lost against Penn State, and I know you were getting ready to fire something up too. It would have been the second gotta have it, can't lose, gotta have it game, and it almost slipped away. But a huge play from Eric All, and then a defensive stand, and Michigan comes out of there with a win. So yeah, it's a monumental play for this season, depending on how the rest of the way it goes. I mean, I think they're gonna, Maryland is going to be not a pushover, but Michigan's going to be favored in that one. And then it's we'll see what Michigan State and Ohio State do against each other. But I mean, everybody's going to be picking the Buckeyes in that one. They look like a machine right now. Anyway, offensively. So yeah, we'll see what happens. So here we are, Chris. We're an hour and 10 minutes in because we did have our guest. We did some other stuff at the beginning. What are we thinking? Are we going to pull the plug on this right now? Do we wanna? Do we want?
What are we going to run into? I mean, what else do we got on the docket?
It's burning questions, bro.
I don't know. Let the people ask. We've been on for an hour. It's 8:13. What do you think?
It's a great
Here's the thing.
But
burning
it's
questions burning questions usually runs about 35. I mean, we're going to be on, we got to put the kids to bed. We got, there's the dad stuff too. So maybe we push burning. Well, Wednesday's the fan show too. Do we do burning questions and then roll right into the fans?
I mean, we could do that.
Hey, you know what? We got people saying keep going.
Keep going. Burning questions. Keep the show going.
You know what? Let's roll. Let's roll with it. Dancing with the Stars is on.
Mom comes in though.
Luke, the answer is no. I don't think you're going to see Dan Villari this year. Probably not. My expectation is that I think he's going to transfer after this year if he wants to play.
Luke, listen, I'm not trying to ignore you, bro. I know you said you're new. Please ask Eric my question. I'm not asking Eric all about Dan Villari. We got him for 30 minutes. His time's valuable. He's a 4-string quarterback, bro. He's not playing. Okay. Richard makes a great point.
Do it. All right, let's put in the OT. Let's put in the work. Let's do it.
All right, little overtime here. We'll finish with burning questions. Let's get it. You want to start or you want me to?
I will start it off.
Wait a minute.
I gotta.
Definitely warms the cockles of the heart.
You know what warms the cockles? Standing by a damn space heater, Jim. Watch your legs, bro.
Easy, Jimbo.
Melted the Lululemons right off his ass, man. That could have been dangerous.
That's
there.
wild, right? I mean, I wasn't looking for it, but I didn't see Jim Harbaugh running around on fire down the sideline. I think I would have noticed that. I've never seen anything quite like that before. Here we go, Brandon. Question number one, burning question.
Yep.
I put out an article about this topic. I'm just going to get right to it. Should Aiden Hutchinson be in New York for the Heisman Trophy presentation? Should he be there?
You know what?
Are there 5 players in the country that you would pick over Aiden Hutchinson?
Now that's a slightly different question, I think, but it kind of gets to the same point. My first instinct, honestly, was to say no. It was to say no because he's at 10 sacks. Man, damn, dude, he's really good. He is a problem on every single play, and he's getting held all the freaking time, and he's still putting up big time numbers, and he's a leader, and he never comes off the field, and man, yeah, okay, so there's a good he's not even leading the country in sacks. I know that's not the only metric, it's not, but my first thought was no, maybe I don't think so. I think for a defensive guy to be in New York for the Heisman, he's got to just be out of control with the numbers. And I think his impact is outstanding, and he's the best player on Michigan's pretty good defense, and he's going to be a high draft pick. But if he's not in New York, I actually think that's okay. That's probably not the popular fan answer, but I think when you break it down, that's kind of where I get to.
Sure, that and I think it's fair. I think you can make an argument both ways. I wouldn't be surprised if he makes New York, especially depending on how Michigan finishes out the year. I mean, if they go and they beat Maryland, if they beat Ohio State at home, and he has a couple, monster games in between, I wouldn't be surprised to see him in New York. And personally, I think he deserves there. One, because I'm biased and I love Michigan football, but two, because of all the things you said, it's not just the things he does from a physical standpoint, but he's a leader. He means so much to that team. He's the most important player in that program right now. And they are where they are, I think, in large part due to his leadership and pulling everybody along. So, I don't know how much all of that counts towards the Heisman Trophy race, but I certainly think he belongs in New York.
I know people hate him because he was a Buckeye, but Chase Young had 16 and a half sacks, 19 and a half tackles for loss, a bunch of forced fumbles, over 65 tackles. And he was fourth or fifth or something. I don't even know.
But that was a strong Heisman
it was
class,
strong.
I think.
It was, yes.
Right. And I think that's probably going to factor into this. You don't have this elite runaway court. I mean, it seems like it's a little more open this year where, maybe not a Hutchinson, but there's room there for a defender to step out and possibly snatch it away.
Yeah. I mean, look, if they send him, that's amazing. He's deserving of it. He's making that kind of impact. But if you just ask me straight up, yes or no, I think I'd say no. I do. Think about
Jabril Peppers. Same thing. His numbers weren't wild, right? But he just impacted so many facets of the game. So who knows? I think bottom line, if he was there, you wouldn't be you wouldn't think he doesn't belong.
Right. If he's there, I'd be yeah, I can see it. If he's not there, I can be okay, that's probably okay too. That's kind of where I'm at with it. My first question is, are you surprised that we didn't see J.J. McCarthy at all? Not one snap against Penn State. None. Zero snaps for J.J.
Yeah, I'm always surprised when we don't see him because they've already burned the red shirt. So if there's packages for him to go in there and to make plays, I'm a little bit surprised. But given the tone of the game and where things sort of ended up with it getting a little bit tighter, and then you look back at the Michigan State game and probably wanting to not, at that point, you don't want to throw him into a situation where the game's getting tight. So no, I wasn't really surprised. I mean, that's kind of a weird question because half yes and half no. But given the way the game went, I would say I would lean more towards no. Not surprising.
I just think I'm a little surprised just because of how I don't actually disagree with not putting him in. I'm Cade's in there. It's a close game. Leave him in. Let him play. Yeah. Let one quarterback play. I just was a little surprised because of what we had seen to that point. It's 3rd and 18, you throw him in the game, and the way he's been used has been weird. So the fact that this was a little more normal surprises me. I'm not surprised because I think what the hell are you doing? Put him in for 6 random ass weird snaps and let's see what happens. That's how he's been used all year. So it's kind of weird that it changed on this day when it's been different than that all season. So not really I don't think there's a cause for concern or that it means anything. I just think it was a little strange that he didn't play because he had been. So that's where I'm at.
All right, man. Where should Michigan be ranked when the college football playoff rankings come out on Tuesday? They're currently at 6.
Georgia, Bama. Is Oregon still up there 3rd?
I think Oregon and Cincy, right?
No, Ohio State. Cincinnati's been behind.
I got it right here.
Michigan. Michigan should be 5th. Michigan should be 5th.
So they move up a spot.
I think. Well, who was 5th last week? I need to see what the rankings are.
So 5th last week was
Cincinnati 5th.
Give me 1 second. So 5th was Cincinnati. So it was 7 Michigan State, 6 Michigan, 5 Cincy, 3 Oregon, 4 Ohio State. Mind.
Leave them right where they're at. 6. Just they're at 6. I mean, they nobody in front of them lost. Just leave them there.
I think the big question was whether or not Michigan's going to leapfrog Cincy. I saw some talk about that. So. I mean. Should they leapfrog? I don't know. I tend to subscribe to the same thing. I know people get worked up about these things, but the numbers will eventually work themselves out. Yep. Michigan's still got to play this one team at least that's ahead of them there, so it'll work itself out.
Yeah, I'm fine with. I think that I don't think the top 6 is going to change. Actually,
I'm certainly not going to complain about being number 6 in the playoff race at this point in the year.
I mean, Ohio State looked pretty damn impressive. I mean, I know they gave up 31 to Purdue, but it was a lot of garbage points against backups and stuff. They were, 50 burger was like nothing for them. So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if 1 through 6 didn't even change this week. That's kind of what I anticipate. My second question, and we talked about it a little bit earlier, so I don't know how deep we want to dive into it, but how impressed have you been by Hassan Haskins?
Very, very. And I'll say everything I said earlier, that it just feels like week after week, he's either jumping over defenders, he's dragging defenders along with him. When, Corum went out, he had to, pick up the slack, and he's done it. He's just an absolute machine. And I know I was guilty of it earlier in the year, but I really think that he is such a crucial and important part of not just this offense, but the overall team success. Can't give the guy enough credit, man. He's a workhorse. Absolutely love him.
It's so crazy that at different times this season, after Blake Corum would do something, I would say, I don't know how you put Hassan Haskins in the game. And then he looks like the last 2 weeks, and it's like, God, how good are these two backs, man?
How do you not have him in the game,
How good are these two backs? It's almost like you almost wish there were two footballs on the field so you can give them both the ball. It sucks when you've got to take either of them out of the game. That's how good they are. That's why the rushing game has been so good. He's been incredible. The fact that he's been playing essentially by himself back there is just it's awesome. I mean, you just don't see it. You don't see running backs carry the ball that much, that physically, that tough for 4 quarters like we did on Saturday. You don't see it anymore. Game ball MVP of that game is Hassan, man. It's just as good as David Ojabo and Aiden Hutchinson were on defense. I mean, Hassan Haskins doing it by himself without a real backup is incredible. I think it's incredible.
You're not going to get many people that are going to disagree on that.
Yeah.
This was a really big burning question after Saturday, and it's kind of been building as the season goes on. But will David Ojabo be playing football in Ann Arbor next year?
Nope, I wouldn't if I was him. He's already being viewed. He's already being viewed as a top 10 prospect. That doesn't necessarily mean top 10 pick, but it would be close, I think, because he's that talented. He's got that much potential. He's that raw. He's that athletic. He's exactly what teams look for in pass rushers in the NFL. Exactly. I mean, to a T. So, no, and I'm wondering, I don't want to steal your thunder.
I was going to mention it. Yeah. So, and this is something that I think didn't get talked about earlier on in the year that much because David Ojabo wasn't viewed in the same light that he is now. But I don't know if you guys remember out there, we actually had David on the show earlier in the year. And one of the interesting things that he told us was that he is not able, as a foreign-born player, is not able to profit off of NIL. So he can't make any money off of the NIL deals. And so I think there was a part of me that thought, you know what? Yeah, he's really good, but I think there's some things he's got to fine tune and maybe get better at. At this point, with not being able to participate in the NIL with his draft stock rising, I just don't know how you say no. If the opportunity is there, I think you absolutely got to take it. I personally don't think he's going to be in Ann Arbor next year. Would obviously love to have him because it'll be painful to lose Hutchinson and Ojabo in the same year. But Michigan continues to crank out edge rushers. And so, at this point, it might just be a reload situation. But, man, is he good.
He's come a long way, man. He called himself an F- as a true freshman when we had him on, that he didn't know what the hell he was doing. He didn't know hand placement. He didn't know leverage. He didn't know anything. And, it really is a bummer. I see some people kind of chiming in now that name, image, and likeness does not apply to kids who are born outside of the U.S.
Two players. The other player,
Julius Welshoff, also born in Germany, so he wasn't born here either. So, but for a guy like Ojabo, who is just flying up draft boards and he's got the look, man. He's got the double nickel. He's got the do-rag hanging out. He's dude.
Icy.
That is a marketable kid right there, and he can't touch the NIL stuff. So that's a bummer, dude. I mean, it is. So he's going to look at that a little differently than some other guys might, and I would think strike while the iron's hot, and it doesn't get a whole lot hotter right now because if he comes back too without Aiden Hutchinson, he might not be as productive. Like everything's working for him right now, and people are paying attention, and someone's probably going to draft him in the first round. So you go. I mean, if you get a first-round grade, you go. That's it. If you start talking about second, third, and beyond, then you can debate it a little bit. But if you're a first-rounder, dude, you go make that money. You know, your football careers have a short shelf life, man, and if you can make it, and you can't hate on it for that.
I want to say this before you move into the next question. Al Mitchell, I saw your question. Yes, absolutely. I believe Hassan Haskins is an NFL back, and I think this season, I think he's proven that a lot with the way you watch him drag players, the way you watch his physicality. He's always falling forward. He 100% is going to be taken in the NFL draft. I don't have any question about that.
I think that's probably a safe bet. I don't know how high, because while he is an explosive athlete, he's not overly fast. So, like,
sure,
testing numbers might not be off the charts, but there's no way you cannot put on his tape and think like, I just don't know if he's going to be effective. Right. He's going to be effective. Give him the ball.
What's not to love? Yeah.
Give him the ball and go get 4 yards. I mean, like, that's a given. So I'm with you. I'll be interested to see how that plays out. Like, what NFL teams view him as and where he might go in the draft, because he's not going to run a 4.4. He's not.
Right.
You know, he's a bigger back. He's obviously explosive. I mean, the hurdle plays and just the body control and the contortions that he does. He's really athletic and really explosive, but he's not super fast. And you don't have to be, though, at running back. So I'm really interested to see what he looks like on NFL draft boards. My third question, Chris. How valuable is Jim Harbaugh's 4-3 record against Penn State?
How valuable is it?
How do you view it? What kind of weight do you put on that record against one of the better teams in the East?
I mean, you hate to say it's a solid record because you're just above 500, but the reality is year in and year out, Penn State recruits well. They put out a good team. They have one of the toughest environments you'll see in all of college football. You know, the fact that he's got a winning record against James Franklin, I'll take it. I'd rather be on this side than on the other side. You would obviously love to see it better. Is it extremely impressive? No, but it's a winning record, and you'll take as many winning records over rivals, especially in your own division, as you possibly can.
I mean, look, man, we've talked about that number, which I think might be right at 500 now. I think he's 22-22, Jim Harbaugh, against Power 5 teams with a winning record. So,
yeah.
It's tough to win. It's tough to win against good teams. And so being 4-3 against Penn State and who was it? Ron Thomas right there. Penn State has been good over the last 7 years. Yeah. So if you're beating them more often than you're losing to them, you got to feel pretty good about that. That 3-4 against Michigan State, and obviously that 0-4 against Ohio State's going to get all the attention in the world. But Penn State's a pretty damn good team too, and he's got a winning record there. So I think it's worth mentioning.
Yeah. Are you giving Jim Harbaugh credit?
That's what that was.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. We need like a siren or something. That we got to let the people know. There you go. Yeah. That's your version of slurping. A little bit of credit.
All right. Enough of that.
All right.
Tone it down a little bit. It is what it is.
We asked Eric about the Maryland game and how they avoid an upset, but I'm curious, as somebody from the outside looking in, how concerned are you about the Maryland game on the road? Obviously, there's probably going to be a lot at stake when Michigan and Ohio State. I mean, we know there's going to be a lot at stake regardless of whether or not a trip to Indy is on the table, but how concerned are you about that game?
Pretty concerned. I mean, I'm going to pick Michigan to win without hesitation. But it's on the road. I mean, Jim Harbaugh talked about it today. Tagovailoa, he deals it. That's what Jim Harbaugh said. That's the word he used. He's got a whip for an arm. He's a good athlete. They've got some talent at receiver. I think they're a little dinged up at receiver. I think Jim Harbaugh mentioned that today too. So that hurts them a little bit. They're nowhere near as deep as Michigan, and they give up a lot of points. So, I mean, whenever I don't think this is unfair to say. I think they have the better quarterback of the two teams between Tagovailoa and Cade. Maybe not by a lot, but I think talent-wise, Tagovailoa is a little bit more talented. But I think Michigan's going to win pretty easily. I think they're too deep. There's too much on the line. Tagovailoa weighs about $190, dude. Ojabo and Hutchinson might break his ass in half on Saturday. I mean, they're going to be coming for him, man. He's already worried about it. I'm sure of it. But they've got a little bit of talent, and they're at home, so you can't, like Eric Hall said, you can't sleepwalk. You can't go in there and just think you're going to get a win. But Michigan's the better team by quite a bit. Maryland's not very good.
Yeah. Well, I'll say that I said when I made my pick for the Penn State game, I was basing that off of the mental makeup of this team. I said that I thought the mental makeup of the Wolverines was going to be the difference in that game. And I would argue that was the case when they got down and things looked a little bit tight. They didn't fold like they normally would. They came out and got the job done. And when you see a team able to do that, I mean, they're just head and shoulders better than the Maryland football program. And so I expect them to go out there. I expect them to take care of business. And I think once again, you're not going to see a letdown because the mental makeup of this team is just different. There is serious leadership on this roster. Starts with Aiden Hutchinson. If you think for any 1 second that Aiden Hutchinson is going to allow somebody to go to College Park and overlook the Turks, it's not going to happen. We might just win it all. We might just win it all. You heard Eric Hall. You heard him. We're coming for the Natty. And you know what? You know what? People might roll their eyes at that, but that's what I want to hear. I want our players talking about Natties.
CJ Frazier, dude, if I was banging off an old English on here right now, that would take me to a new stratosphere for street cred. No.
Steel Reserve, King Cobra.
It's a Bud Light. It's a Bud Light Michelada. It's like a bloody beer. It's my jam, dude. That's my thing. Not a lot of people get down on that. This guy does. It was a beautiful tailgating beverage, I'll tell you that much. It's like a breakfast in a can, dude. Are you kidding me? Anyway,
Gross.
Speaking of Eric Hall, I mentioned the quote that Jim Harbaugh said, best tight end to ever do it at Michigan. He's certainly not there yet. What do you think of that? What do you think of that quote? When you look at Eric Hall, number 83, running 50 yards down the sideline, outrunning DBs, is that a crazy statement, or is Jim Harbaugh kind of on point with that?
It gives credibility to what he said. When he caught that ball, I thought there's no way he's going to be able to outrun a DB, and it didn't look like he was gonna. The fact that he was injured, he's got, he's working through something on his ankle. He has all of the makings to be one of the greatest tight ends ever to play at the University of Michigan. So just based on what Jim Harbaugh said, no, it doesn't sound that crazy. You see flashes of it. You start to ask yourself, okay, well, if that's the case, why aren't we seeing more out of him? But it looks like, as time's going on, they're trying to get him more involved in the offense, and obviously it's leading to success. So
I'll say this: athletically, and in today's world of football, he's the guy. That's who you want. That tight end, he's a prototype. He only caught one ball as a true freshman. Last year was the COVID year, and he's only got one touchdown in his career. So numbers-wise, he's not going to get there. But potential-wise, talent-wise, maybe future-wise, I know, Chris, you're really in tune with what these Michigan guys do in the NFL after they leave.
Oh yeah,
love it. But no, he's got everything to be really, really good at the next level and next year. I mean, I'm not trying to push him out the door, but I'm just saying, the first 3 years of his Michigan career probably haven't been productive enough to be in that conversation, but ability-wise, he's special, man. He was humble, and he named a few guys. When I asked him that question, there's not a lot of tight ends in America doing that. There just isn't, and he's one of them. And he is up to 250 pounds now, and he likes to put his face in the fan. He's a complete tight end, and he's gonna make himself a lot of money playing that position at the next level. So. I like the quote. I remember when he said it, I was like, damn, there's been some good tight ends at Michigan. That's pretty lofty, but he's a special player, man. I like Eric Hall on the field, and he has been more and more involved lately, and it's been good for Michigan. So, yeah, I'm okay with the words.
All right, are we on the final? I think I'm on my final here. All right, this is about as big as it gets. We're going to have plenty of time to talk about it, obviously, as the days go on here. But I'm looking ahead. So for anybody out there who's the 1 week at a time fan, take it 1 week at a time. You either want to turn off your computer, look away, mute it. Don't listen to what I'm about to say. Here's the question. Does a win over Ohio State this year wipe the slate clean for Jim Harbaugh?
Not for me. It doesn't for me. I mean, dude, it would be huge. It will be huge for this year. It will be huge for momentum. It will be huge to get into the Big Ten champion. I mean, again, we're kind of assuming Ohio State's going to beat Michigan State, right? I mean, I don't know. It's probably not. It's probably not a given, but it feels
a 20-point favorite. 19
it feels pretty.
Favorite?
It feels pretty close to a given. But no, man. I mean, dude, 1-5 is not good. It's not good, and it doesn't erase what happened against Michigan State this year and overall. Now the rest of the way that things played out the rest of this season has gone really well. And if Michigan can beat Ohio State, this is going to be Jim Harbaugh's best season ever at Michigan because they're going to play for a Big Ten title. They're going to probably win a Big Ten championship, which is badass. Like, I don't think anybody in the West can beat Michigan. And then that probably means a trip to the playoff. And, like, that means me and you are booking flights and we're doing the damn thing, and it's going to be fun, man. But, no, it does. Like, one good season doesn't erase what got me to this point. Now, I'll come off of the, like, starting to think about replacement thing. I'll come off of that. But I guess I would have to ask exactly what you mean by wipe the slate clean. Like, all of a sudden we're just hip hip hooray. No, I'm not
forgiving 0-5. I mean, wipe it clean.
There.
Okay.
I can't quite get there for that.
For me personally, individually, it wipes the slate clean. I am so damn starved to go to Indy, to beat Ohio State, to see Michigan competing on television or in person in Indy, in the play. Like, for Michigan to get there.
Oh, we'll be there with bells on.
Right. If Jim Harbaugh can do that this year, given how people were viewing this Michigan football program in the preseason, I'll wipe the slate clean because it will mean so damn much to me, not just as somebody who's covering the team and enjoys it, but as a fan and who rides or dies with this team on Saturdays and who has suffered through many, many, many heartbreaks over the last 2 decades. Man, if he can get him to Indy, wipes the slate clean for me.
Yeah, I mean, dude, 11-1 is freaking strong, bro. I mean, that
Very
is strong. That's strong. I mean, I'm gonna have to take some darts in the neck on Twitter for a while. And I'm fine with it. This is always what I always come back to. Like, I don't say what I say about Jim Harbaugh because I don't like Michigan. It's the freaking exact opposite. Like you just said, we've been starved. The O for the world against Ohio State, the no Big Ten titles since I was a freaking middle schooler. I'm over that, dude. I'm over it.
Can we on this topic? Like,
Shit, no, that's wrong. I was out of high school the last time it happened. God, we're old, man.
We are old, and damn. I don't want to rag on the kid because I know he's only in high school. But I saw CJ Stokes on Twitter, who is a Michigan running back recruit, who said,
"Let me pile into there real quick."
Go ahead.
Amazing kid. I went down to South Carolina to see my buddy, and on the way back, I stopped and saw CJ and did some in-person stuff with him. Talked to his coach. Awesome kid. But to your point, continue.
But so CJ puts out a tweet after Michigan beats Penn State and says, if you doubted us, then, don't, what is it? You can't be a fan now.
Don't be a fan,
yeah. Basically don't be a fan if you doubted Michigan before the Penn State game. And I see that a lot on social media. And I know he's a young kid. I know he meant well, but this fan base has gone through a lot of heartbreak. Like, CJ Stokes wasn't even born when most of these fans were like getting their heart ripped in two on Saturday. So, I think this fan base gets a bad rap, man. These people are starved. They're hungry. They just want a taste of what they've seen all their rivals get. They just want a little piece of it too. And I think once you give them a little slice of pie, things will get better around here. But damn, man, like, don't give the fans such a hard time. This has been a difficult stretch for this football program, and it looks like we might be reaching some light at the end of the tunnel here.
Maybe we shall see. All right, my last one, and I think it's a really good question, and I find myself even kind of debating with my own self in my head. Was that win over Penn State Jim Harbaugh's biggest win as Michigan's head coach? It seems weird to say, because Penn State's not amazing this year, and they were the underdog, and they weren't ranked. But
here's what I'll say. I don't know if it's the biggest win, but here's why it might be the biggest win. Because of what you said earlier about how impactful Eric All's catch and touchdown was. It may have saved Jim Harbaugh's job. It may go back and look at that 2016 game against Ohio State. That spot and that play almost acted as like a fork in the road for the trajectory of the program. One play can really make a difference. So if the difference between a win and a dub there was Eric All getting in the end zone, I don't know. Ask yourself that question. To me, it's like, I think if he had lost that game, the pitchforks would be out. It would be all we're talking about. Ohio State then becomes like, you're going to start to look at, of course they're not going to win against Ohio State. I go back to, this was the type of game that Michigan would lose. And we saw them lose it in Michigan in East Lansing. Yeah. But they didn't lose it in Happy Valley. And it was a tough environment. I give him all the credit in the world. Was it his biggest win ever? I don't know. One of for sure. There hasn't been a lot of huge wins.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I would kind of answer it with a bit of a caveat. It's was it the best team they've ever beat? Probably not. I don't even know if that's in the discussion. Was it maybe the most important, most influential? Or to your point, like when you look back on it in a year or two or three, I mean, dude, some Michigan fans still have JT was short in their freaking Twitter bios.
Yes.
5 years ago, man. And now, instead of it being like, I don't even know there's not really like an iconic play in this game, but like, I don't know. Yes, to your point, that play may swing things for years to come. Maybe. There's a lot of football left this year still, but
sure.
It's on the way.
But we know what happens when you don't make those plays. What can happen to a program, right? So we'll. I guess the answer to that question is we'll find out. We'll find out how big that was.
My other approach to answering that question is like, what is his biggest win then? Like, what is it?
Florida, maybe in the Citrus Bowl,
like a cool bowl win, I guess.
I don't know. We'll ask the fans. I don't know.
It's what you just said. He doesn't have a lot. He doesn't have a lot of big wins. That's been one of the sticking points, man. I mean, like I said, I'm not trying to dig up turds here, but like it is what it is, man. Like what. If you named like Jim Harbaugh's 5 biggest wins, they're just kind of like random regular season wins against decent teams. That's pretty much it. That's all he's got.
If that's the question, last Saturday's on that list. The top 5.
I think so. Even though, it wasn't like a top 5 matchup where Michigan was underdog or something, but it's massively important for what they're doing now and what it could mean for the outcome of the whole season. So it's in that mix. I don't know. We'll see how things play out, but yeah, I think that's an interesting question.
Whew. Wow. Oh, we are dangerously close to 2-hour show here.
We're burning the midnight oil right now.
My goodness. Have Eric All on. We get burning questions in. We talk about you out getting hammered and all your shenanigans.
Toilets.
My goodness.
Reuben
What a show.
Sandwiches.
Shoulder sandwiches.
We did it all tonight. I think we lost.
Stinky SUVs.
We lost Nick and Nick. They bailed.
We did.
Yeah, they couldn't have it anymore. They
shout out to anybody who stuck around for this entire show, man.
Dude, unreal.
There were some people commenting the whole time. You guys are
good. This whole show, we've been like up in some high numbers for where we normally are.
I'm telling you, dude, these guys are unreal.
It's awesome.
They're unreal.
We love it. We love you guys, man. It's fun, dude. I mean, like we just killed 2 hours talking shit about football, which we just
love it.
Like 12 hours in a car over the weekend. I mean, like it just never goes away. It never goes away. Real quick, Armand, that Jordan Lewis interception was at home. That was a big one. That's on the list. That was like a top, I don't know, I think maybe top 10. I don't know. I think Wisconsin was like maybe 12th or something. I don't know, whatever. It was a big game. I think both teams were undefeated or close to it. Jordan Lewis's pick at the end of the game was at the Big House, not at Camp Randall. But anyway, yeah, because they hadn't won at Camp Randall in like 20 years, and that was just that was what 2017, something.
Yes.
Like that. Yeah. Anyway, good show, Chris. Feeling good about it?
Feeling great about it, man. The activity, I hate it, guys. I promise Brandon tries to get to every single comment and question on the side. It's just you guys are fast and furious with it, and we try to get to as much of them. Don't think that we're ignoring you. We love the involvement. We love that you're asking.
You can see on the Facebook page when we get done. By the time we hit stop on the broadcast, we have 500 comments, and then there's also some coming in from YouTube. So it's a lot. It just keeps scrolling on the side of my screen. It just keeps moving, and I try to go back and find them, and then they disappear, and then they reload. And yes, we're not ignoring you. I promise. Like if there's something that pops up and it catches my eye, I kind of mark it. We throw it up there. Some of the stuff I probably don't even see, but we love the interaction. We love the commitment for some of you guys, man. Really appreciate that. And we'll be back at it on Wednesday. We pretty much kept our schedule since we're coming up on freaking hour and 45 minutes, man.
Yeah.
Longest show to date. Yeah, well, when you're
wow. Let's get a clap for that. You got hit the button. Let's get an applause. Longest show ever.
It is the longest show ever. I mean,
when your team
is
you need that.
When your team is when your team's 9-1 and maybe getting ready to play for a playoff spot or a Big Ten title, you got a little juice, man.
Yeah, man. That was awesome. Good show.
How about no field goals for Jake Moody?
We'll dive into that Wednesday.
How about that? We'll be back on Wednesday night, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for sticking it out with long time. That's a long
time.
I don't even know if I don't even want to hear me and Chris talk for an hour and 45 minutes. So we really appreciate that from you guys, man. We'll be back on Wednesday night.